History will be made on May the 4th, as the Giro d'Italia becomes the first Grand Tour to venture outside of Europe, with the Grand Potenza in Israel. The first 3 stages take place in the Middle East, with an opening time trial around the streets of Jerusalem, before 2 flat stages that should finish in bunched sprints in Tel Aviv and Eilat. A rest day is needed to transport the race across the Mediterranean, with things getting back underway on Sicily, with 2 lumpy days on stages 4 and 5. However, the racing should really erupt into life on stage 6, which ends with a 30-kilometre climb up the volcanic slopes of Mount Etna, where the general classification should start to take shape. The race finally reaches the Italian mainland on stage 7, before a pair of summit finishes bring the first week to a close. The climb to Monte Virginia returns for the first time since 2011 on stage 8, and should set things up nicely for the brutal 224-kilometre stage to Gran Sasso. The final climb of stage 9 is basically 45 kilometres long, with a few short sections of flat and downhill along the way. It accumulates in a steep ramp up to the finish at more than 2,100 metres in altitude. The next few days shouldn't prove too tricky for the GC contenders, even with the short, punchy uphill finish to Osimo on stage 11, and the small climb with 9 kilometres to go on the following day. Instead, they'll be getting themselves ready for the arrival of Monte Zoncolan on stage 14. Riders begin this climb by passing under a banner emblazoned with the words "Welcome to Hell," so they should know exactly what they're getting themselves in for. At 10 kilometres, the Zoncolan is far from the longest climb in the world, but features a brutal 6-kilometre section in its midst with an average gradient of 15% and a maximum gradient of 22%. Things get a little easier as the riders pass through a few tunnels near the top, before one last double-digit kilometre through vast crowds in the natural amphitheatre at the summit. After that, the cruel race organisers have put in one more stage before the final rest day, and have packed it with 4 more climbs in the Dolomites, each with consistent double-digit gradients before a draggy uphill final few kilometres to the line in Sappada. While most riders will enjoy a stress-free rest day, the pink jersey contenders are sure to be out on their TT bikes to take a final look around the next day's crucial time trial to Rovereto. This 34.5km test will go a long way to deciding the final race winner, and will be a real test for the climbers hoping to limit their losses with an almost completely flat parcours and very few technical sections. The climbing resumes on stage 18, a 196km day, which features barely a bump until the unrelenting 6 to 7% gradients of the 14km climb to the ski resort of Prato Nervoso. Stage 19 is a more complicated test, with 4 climbs along the road to Bardonecchia, including the Cima Coppi, the title given to the highest climb in the Giro d'Italia, which this year is the gravel climb of the Colle delle Finestre. By this point, we'll be hoping for long-range attacks from riders further down the GC, but it could all come down to the final ascent of the Jafferau, a short and sharp 7km climb with a sapping 8 to 10% gradient. With the pink jersey hopefully still in the balance, all will be decided on the 214km long stage 20, with 3 long climbs dominating its second half. The Colle Ciccori and the Colle St Pantaleon are both more than 16km long and include sections at more than 10%. But it could all come down to the final summit finish to Cervinia, which includes a final 2km where, if the race is still close, the Giro could be decided. The flight south sees the riders arrive in Rome for the final stage on May 27th, a professional stage which should accumulate in a bunch sprint on the cobbles near the Colosseum, and crowning the winner of the 101st edition of the Giro d'Italia.